Welcome to LFC Transfer HQ, your ultimate source for all things Liverpool FC transfers. Like and subscribe for more football updates. Our first news is Arne Slot admits texts with Eddie Howe as Liverpool set for Alexander Isak transfer fury. A lot has happened between the clubs since Arne Slot and Eddie Howe exchanged pleasantries over messages in the aftermath of Newcastle's Carabao Cup victory against the Reds at Wembley. Arne Slot has only shared texts with one fellow Premier League manager, and that's Eddie Howe. He respects his rival so much he has backed him to one day become England head coach. But whether or not the Newcastle boss would be so receptive to messages at the moment from his Liverpool counterpart may be discovered on Monday evening when they meet at St James Park. A lot has happened between the clubs since Slot and Howe exchanged pleasantries over messages in the aftermath of Newcastle's Carabao Cup victory against the Reds at Wembley. Most obviously Liverpool's pursuit of Alexander Isak, the Magpies frontman who has gone on strike to force a move to Anfield. "I don't know," Slot said when asked if this summer's events have damaged relations between the clubs. "The only manager I've ever texted with was Eddie Howe, in the Premier League. In Holland I texted with a few more, but after the League Cup final we did exchange a few messages. If I see him I will be the same as I was last year, and I expect nothing different from him as well. On a higher level, I have no clue. For me it's still the same relationship with him." Liverpool will arrive in the northeast on Monday night as mighty villains. But they'll face a Newcastle side weakened by Isak's absence and a summer where they've failed, so far at least, to sign their top targets with the exception of Anthony Elanga, Jacob Ramsey, Malik Thiaw and Aaron Ramsdale. It is in attack where they are light given Isak's strike and the failure to sign numerous forward targets, including Hugo Ekitike, who will line up for Liverpool. Slot and Howe have a mutual connection in Richard Hughes, Liverpool's sporting director who played with the Newcastle manager at Portsmouth before working together at Bournemouth, and he cites that as the reason they've connected. "In general I have sympathy for Eddie Howe because he is a great human being, he's always polite, so that is my general feeling about him," said the Liverpool boss. "It's maybe not a coincidence that I've texted with him because I think he's a very nice and honest, polite colleague. For the rest, I don't need to have sympathy for a manager that can still have the availability of Anthony, Gordon, Jacob, Murphy, Elanga, Harvey, Barnes. They didn't replace Callum Wilson, did they? You don't need to have sympathy for a manager who has so many good players in his squad." Stay tuned for more updates on LFC Transfer HQ, transfer moves, player signings, and latest news. Don't miss subscribe for more LFC Transfer HQ news. Our second news is Darwin Nunez sends another message to Liverpool as Alexander Isak transfer stalls. Liverpool sold Darwin Nunez to Al Hilal earlier this summer and the Reds are hoping to bring in Newcastle striker Alexander Isak as his replacement, but the deal has stalled. Darwin Nunez has made an impressive start to life in Saudi Arabia, with the former Liverpool striker finding the back of the net in Al Hilal's final pre-season friendly on Saturday. Nunez joined Al Hilal in a deal worth around £46.3 million earlier this month. The 26-year-old has scored in all three of his pre-season appearances for his new club, with Nunez on target in wins over Aarau, Waldhof Mannheim and Al Fayha. Nunez struggled for consistency during his time at Anfield, managing just 40 goals in 143 games across all competitions. And he had to settle for a bit-part role under Arne Slot last season, with 30 of his 47 appearances coming off the bench. Liverpool have already brought in a new forward this summer, spending £69 million on Hugo Ekitike, and they are also hoping to sign Newcastle striker Alexander Isak. However, they have already had a £110 million offer rejected by the Magpies, who value Isac at closer to £150 million. The Sweden international is pushing for the move and released a statement claiming that Newcastle have broken promises by not allowing him to leave. "I've kept quiet for a long time while others have spoken," Isac said. That silence has allowed people to push their own version of events, even though they know it doesn't reflect what was really said and agreed behind closed doors. The reality is that promises were made and the club has known my position for a long time. To now act as if these issues are only emerging is misleading. When promises are broken and trust is lost, the relationship can't continue. That's where things are for me right now and why change is in the best interests of everyone, not just myself. However, Newcastle have hit back and insist that the conditions of a sale this summer have not transpired, and that they do not foresee those conditions being met before the transfer window slams shut. Manager Eddie Howe, meanwhile, is hopeful the situation will be resolved pretty quickly. Speaking ahead of Newcastle's clash with Liverpool on Monday, Howe said, he won't be part of the squad this weekend. The club has to act in the best interests of Newcastle United. It will do that in every situation it looks like it is coming to an end, or it will come to an end pretty quickly. Stay tuned for more updates on LFC Transfer HQ, transfer moves, player signings, and latest news. Don't miss subscribe for more LFC Transfer HQ news. Our third news is Pep Guardiola and Liverpool on collision course over £35 million transfer as late exodus awaits. Crystal Palace defender Mark Guehi is a top target for Liverpool, with Tottenham and Barcelona also battling for the England star's signature, and Manchester City are now set to join the fight too. Manchester City are weighing up a swoop for Mark Guehi, but only if centre-backs Manuel Akanji and Nathan Ake depart this week. Crystal Palace star Guehi is already being tracked by Liverpool, Tottenham and Barcelona with just 12 months left on his deal. The Daily Star Sunday understands the England international, 25, is on City's radar as a potential £35 million signing should Pep Guardiola lose both defenders from his ranks following their 2-0 home defeat to Spurs. Turkish giants Galatasaray are keen on Akanji, 30, whilst Ake, also 30, is wanted by Everton, who have already secured Jack Grealish on loan from the Etihad outfit. Should both players exit before the window closes a week on Monday, it would intensify City's pursuit of Guehi. That scenario would pit City against Arne Slot's Liverpool, who have been frontrunners in the chase for the Palace ace. Guardiola is looking to streamline his squad and wouldn't be lacking alternatives if both Akanji and Ake move on, with the rapid Guehi viewed as offering long-term potential. The City boss omitted both İlkay Gundogan, another Galatasaray target, and Akanji from Saturday's matchday squad. However, he insisted, I had to leave Rodri and Phil Foden out last week as we have many players. I must rotate. The next games it will be others who are left out. It is not more serious than that. The Catalan declined to criticize goalkeeper James Trafford, whose blunder allowed João Palhinha to double the lead after Brennan Johnson's opener. Guardiola said, James made a good first game last week and I decided to continue with him. When I take decisions early in the season people think this is the lineup. It was today I decided and it is what it is. We missed the simple things today but the effort and running was extraordinary and I have no doubts. We had a good pre-season and when we won at Wolves last week everyone said everything was fine. But I said last week we still work to do, and it's the same after this defeat. We have to improve. Step by step until we make it click and make the good connections. Now we have 7 days rest and then Brighton before the international break. The defeat to Thomas Frank's side meant Guardiola has now lost 10 times to the North London side, the joint most defeats he suffered against one club with Spurs now tied with Liverpool. Stay tuned for more updates on LFC Transfer HQ, transfer moves, player signings, and latest news. Don't miss subscribe for more LFC Transfer HQ news. Our fourth news is Alexander Isak has already been shown route back at Newcastle despite never again claims. Alexander Isak's relationship with Newcastle's management has hit rock bottom as he continues to push for a move to Liverpool, but history shows there could still be a potential way back for the Swede. The reigning Premier League champions had a £110 million bid rejected for Isac a few weeks ago. And the Swede has been training alone since pre-season as he looks to engineer a transfer to Anfield. Despite Eddie Howe's willingness to allow Isac a way back into the squad, once the transfer saga is put to bed, it has been reported the goalscorer has no intention to ever play for the Magpies again. While it had been radio silence from the Swedes' camp for much of the summer, he broke his silence earlier this week on social media, as he accused his club of breaking promises. Newcastle responded with their own statement and said that the striker will be welcomed back when he is ready to rejoin his teammates. As it stands now, Isac has shown no signs of wanting to reintegrate with his teammates and he won't figure against Liverpool on Monday night. But should the Swede eventually have a change of heart or at least accept his situation once the window shuts in 8 days' time, he can follow in the footsteps of Tevez, who was in a similar situation almost 15 years ago with Manchester City. The Argentine great's future at the Etihad was plunged into controversy in September 2011 after he was accused by then City boss Roberto Mancini of refusing to come on as a substitute in a Champions League game against Bayern Munich. Tevez rejected the Italian's claim, instead stating that he only refused to warm up and called the situation a misunderstanding. Regardless of his response, he was suspended by the club for 2 weeks, who then opened an investigation into the incident. It was a month after the European game that Tevez reported back to City, but he was instructed to train alone and was indefinitely kept out of the first-team squad. After being fined 2 weeks' wages, Mancini said the forward would be welcomed back if he was to apologize for his actions in Munich. The drama, however, continued as in November it was revealed that Tevez failed to report to training and was understood to have returned home to Argentina without permission from City. The club proceeded to fine Tevez 6 weeks' wages after his latest stunt, and despite interest in him from the likes of AC Milan, Inter Milan and Paris Saint-Germain in the January transfer window, no move ensued. It was in February that Tevez returned to the club after Mancini admitted that he could make a return to action in the Premier League should he prove his fitness. Later that month, Tevez apologized, sincerely and unreservedly, in a statement as he went on to help the club capture their first league title in 44 years. Don't miss subscribe for more LFC Transfer HQ news. Our fifth news is Liverpool transfers. Alexander Isak told to force move as inquiry made for Brazilian star. Liverpool are still hoping to make one more deal before the transfer window slams shut, and Newcastle striker Alexander Isak is their main target, but his club are digging their heels in over the move after the player went on strike. There's only a week left of the summer transfer window, and even though Liverpool have splashed out around £300 million on 7 signings, there could still be time left for at least one more deal. Arne Slot is eager to bring Alexander Isak to Newcastle, but the Magpies are digging their heels in over the move, while the striker himself is on strike and has accused his club of broken promises, amid a row between the two parties. The move looks a difficult one to complete unless Newcastle can secure themselves a new forward amid their bid to sign Chelsea's Nicholas Jackson and Brentford's Yoane Wissa, but even then it could cost Liverpool as much as £150 million to get their man. Fans should be happy with the business they've done so far to bring in Florian Wirtz for £116.5 million, Hugo Ekitike for around £79 million, and fullbacks Jeremy Frimpong and Milos Kerkez, who cost a combined £80 million. But as we edge closer to deadline day, Mirror Football has taken a look at the biggest Liverpool transfer news and gossip. Newcastle boss Eddie Howe has appeared quite defeatist in his battle to keep Isac after he claimed the saga would end pretty quickly, but that doesn't mean Liverpool are certain to get the deal over the line. Howe said he hasn't seen the player since his bold statement claiming of broken promises, and the move is up the air after the Reds had a £110 million bid rejected. Troy Deeney has now waded into the saga and urged Isac to take matters into his hands to make sure the transfer gets completed. He said he had a similar experience when he was trying to join Watford from Walsall, and incredibly said Isac might have to even ruin training to get Newcastle to sanction his exit. He told The Sun, "How they should have played it is how I played it with my agent when I was pushing to move from Walsall to Watford back in the summer of 2010. In private, my agent said to me, 'You're going to have to kick up a fuss here. You're going back to training and you'll do all of the running, but as soon as a ball is involved, you're going to have to ruin sessions, you're going to have to kick balls away. But importantly, you can't let anyone on the outside know what's going on.' It was really hard. You would go home feeling guilty, being for no reason, burning bridges for people you quite like. But you've just got to remember who you're doing it for, yourself. That's how Isac will be feeling. This is one that might not necessarily be done in this transfer window, but O Globo have reported that Liverpool are keeping an eye on young Brazilian star Isac, who plays for Fluminense. Don't miss subscribe for more LFC Transfer HQ news. Our last news: Newcastle United vs Liverpool prediction, odds and betting offer. With the Alexander Isak transfer saga unchanged, it adds an interesting twist to Newcastle's next match against Premier League champions Liverpool. Newcastle welcome Liverpool to St James' Park on Monday night for a Premier League clash steeped in drama. The ongoing transfer saga involving Alexander Isak, Newcastle, and Liverpool has dominated headlines, and with tensions running high, the atmosphere is sure to be electric. The situation has left Newcastle reeling. Already struggling after missing out on several key transfer targets, the Magpies now face further turmoil as their star player appears determined to force a move away from the northeast. This latest development threatens to derail their preparations for the new season. Despite the off-field distractions, Eddie Howe's side managed a solid start to their campaign, earning a 0-0 draw away at Aston Villa. While Newcastle lacked sharpness in attack and arguably should have claimed all 3 points, Howe and assistant Jason Tindall will take heart from the team's overall performance at a notoriously difficult venue. Historically, Newcastle have struggled against Liverpool, but the Toon Army will be in full voice on Monday, fueled by the summer's transfer drama. If the players can feed off the crowd's energy, an upset could be on the cards. Liverpool, meanwhile, arrive on the back of a 4-2 victory over Bournemouth on opening weekend, with goals from Hugo Ekitike, Cody Gakpo, Federico Chiesa, and Mohamed Salah. The win was anything but comfortable, as Liverpool found it difficult to contain Bournemouth's counter-attacks, with Antoine Semenyo causing particular problems. Similar vulnerabilities were evident in the Community Shield against Crystal Palace, raising concerns about Liverpool's ability to control transitions. While Jurgen Klopp has plenty of attacking options at his disposal, questions remain over the balance of his starting 11. There are also concerns about squad depth, especially compared to rivals like Manchester City. It's clear that Liverpool need reinforcements if they hope to defend their title, which explains their pursuit of Isac. Newcastle could exploit Liverpool's weaknesses on the break, but without their Swedish striker, they look less threatening in the final third. As a result, Liverpool head into this fixture as clear favourites. Thanks for watching. That's all for today's transfer update. But the transfer window never sleeps, and neither do we. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for the latest Liverpool FC transfer news, rumours, and confirmed deals. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss an update, because at LFC Transfer HQ, you'll never walk alone.